What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is June 4th, 2024, and it's 8:22 in the evening. Sorry my video's late. I just had some things to do. I ended up having to leave the trading room today at 2:45 because I had some things to take care of with my kids for testing for school next year. I've got a football draft I had to do for my son's flag football team, which I'm coaching. It was just didn't get a chance to get back until just now. So better late than never, I guess. Without further ado, we're going to get into the chart. But before we do, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd appreciate it, guys. It's a slow grind to 100K. And it certainly doesn't pay to do YouTube. But I would love to have a shiny play button hanging in my office at some point over the next 6 years. That'd be amazing. So if you could help me do that, I'd appreciate it. In the meantime, today's chart was very difficult throughout most of the day, and then it wasn't, and we were prepared for when it wasn't time. But we did find a couple of good trades early in the morning, which wrapped up the trading day for a good portion of us quickly. We like the one and dones. We like to be into the market and out with the money that we make, and we like to close it up and walk away for the day. Now, I don't close up the room because there are some people who can't join us early in the morning. There are some people that can't stop trading, period. And there are just some people that, have other rules than I do, and that's fine. So we'll help you try and find the best utilization of the chart and what it's giving us. But let's go ahead and launch the chart and see what we got going on. So in pre-market, we were trending up, ish, and then so I was interested in the potential for calls. As we got into the open, our call line scenario was a close above 526.60. If we got that close, we'd be looking for at least 527.05. Easy peasy. For a put, we would be looking for an entry, this is conservative by the way, with a breach of 525.73 to the downside, looking for the move to continue to 525.30. Okay? Now, as we were leading into the open, I was prepared to play calls. However, I was adamant, mainly because Qs were moving up towards resistance, this first orange line here, telling everybody, guys, don't make the mistake that many of us made yesterday, which was buying puts because SPY was breaching a line, our put line, but Qs were dead on support. Okay? So I was overly cautious today, letting people know, hey, wait for the Qs to clear resistance. And then it dawned on me that even if the Qs clear resistance, you still have one opportunity to get at least 30 cents out of the trade, which was this, at least 20 cents, but this was a 30-cent move. And then you run into two lines that are in very tight proximity of each other. Now, I didn't have this red box here yet. I'll tell you when we added that box, but I want you to know the importance of that box because it means a lot and it paid very well if you were patient enough to wait for what we waited for regarding this box. But with that said, calls, if Qs were to be opening near or at this resistance, were off the table for me because even if it broke through this line, we wanted to see a candle close above it, and we never got it. Okay, we never got that candle close above that line to get us into the calls, and that's why we didn't take calls. Okay, out of the gate. However, Qs struggled on the very first candle to get below this one. ADD opened very red and was printing a big fat red candle. So we quickly said, hey, maybe puts are worth a try because what we're going to do is if we get into puts, we're doing so at resistance on SPY. We're going to hope that ADD allows Qs to come down and our stop gets to be pretty tight, i.e. if we close above our put line, you got to get out of the trade. What we're hoping for is a move down if we close above our call line, we're going to stop out. Otherwise, we're hoping to get down to our pre-market high line. Now, the one caveat that we wanted to wait for was for Qs to at least at least attempt to break this pre-market support. It breached it here. It came to it here. We had wicks on top. We were struggling to get higher on the Qs, below this resistance here. So some folks waited for the actual break of this. Some got in here. I happened to get in when the Qs were trying to push down. We had an alert set here, right here on the Qs at 452.07, because I told everybody, guys, we hope for this line to break here. That should bring us right down to this 452.07. But if that one breaks, I'm believing we're going straight to 451.64. It all happened exactly like we hoped it would. We got in at resistance. We got in when ADD was in the minus 1,000 range. We were looking for a quick move down to what was a decent support on SPY. It gave it to us. That returned for most of us anywhere from 20% to 35%. Some people made a little more because they got in earlier. Some people made a little less because they got in later. Either way, it did exactly what we hoped it would do, and all of it was based primarily on the Qs. Great trade. That was enough for me to be a one and done, but I ended up taking another trade, and the other trade was exactly the same one, but with a new found reasoning for it. So this was our second entry. Pull back to resistance, same rules. We're looking for the same target low. We're hoping to stay below this call line. If we do, that's your stopping point if we close above it. But I want you to see something here. Really quickly, after this drop on the Qs, we were expecting at least to come back up, maybe start testing this resistance again. Guys, look at the level of selling that is clearly happening here, okay? Now, you could have tightened this box up pretty significantly at the time to be much, much smaller. Okay. But what I also wanted to do was remind people that, hey, even if we get out of this red line, we got a resistance that we hit and failed to get through before. And if we get through that, it's a 30-cent move, but then you run into some congestion again. Okay. So that's why I said to everybody at this point, guys, calls are off the table to me until the Qs successfully break out of the top of this red box. Period. End of story. Could you have made money on calls off of the supports down here? Yes, you could have. Should you have considered selling as we neared or got into this red box every time after seeing what we had seen all day? Yes, you should have. We didn't know how high up into the box it was going to go. We didn't know if it was going to make it into the box at all. But what we did know is that anytime it was touching that box, it was having an extremely difficult time continuing to move up. Okay, so what comes of that kind of information? Well, two things. Number one, if you're in calls, you should consider taking profits when we get there. And number two, if you're interested in puts, well, maybe using that as a reason to get in, knowing that if we get into it with the candle closed, you stop out. That's useful information to have, I would think, right? So you're going from resistance, hoping to make it down to support. Now, 10 o'clock was coming up. We don't hold through 10 o'clock candles. I don't care if you're green or if you're red. Most people will hold through the 10 o'clock candles when they're red because they hope that it goes their direction and makes them green. Well, if you were holding puts down here and 10 o'clock came, you got your face tore off. And that's an uncomfortable and unsettling feeling. Now, that also created a lot of hold and hopers. We had some people that were in puts refusing to take profits, even though we were at the line of support on Qs, at the line of support on SPY. And lo and behold, up we go. Man, that hurt. Now, again, this happened very quickly and aggressively, and there was a lot of people that didn't get out and end up getting redeemed because we did come back down. Now, on our way back down, right here on this candle, I said, guys, it looks like we're putting in a lower high. What does that typically mean? It typically means whatever support is next below it is likely to fail, not hold. So we got in aggressively. Our stop loss was a candle close above 526.48, with the absolute worst case scenario being a close above 526.60. If you're trying to get in and get out quick, get in at resistance, get out at the most recent support, which is right here. You had that opportunity very quickly after getting in. You could have made profit, decent profit in 2 minutes. You made all your profit in 3 minutes. We made it all the way down to where we were hoping to get in 6 minutes, 5 minutes. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes. Sorry. But essentially the same exact trade that we took here with the same stop loss for the same reasons. You had the red box here, that's your be careful level, and then c'est la vie, right? Now that was the second trade of the day for me, and that was it for me. Then we got into a chart that was very unpredictable. In fact, it was unpredictable leading up to here. But by the time you get this late in the day with this kind of craziness, you start to think more about, hey, it's sporadic today. It doesn't seem to be moving with any kind of reasoning behind it. It's just hitting levels of support, getting into levels of resistance or zones, sometimes getting in the resistance level deeper than others, sometimes not making it through the line at all. Sometimes it gets into the same level of resistance here. I don't really count this so much because it was from a report. But long story short, guys, I am not buying calls until we get out of that red box to the upside. We're going to fast forward through this chart. Yes, you could have made money through all of this, okay? Remember, I take my lunch around 12 o'clock, so I wasn't here during this move up. Even if I was, I would still be looking to break lower highs before I get in. And then when we break those, I need to make sure that there's enough room before we run into the next level of resistance before I'm interested in taking that trade. So you might be looking at this saying, well, Jimmy, what if we break this line here? Would you buy calls? Well, it depends. Considering the next line of resistance is here, I'd have to say, well, is the move from 451.64 to 451.91 more than 20 cents? The answer is yes. So sure. What would we be hoping for? We'd hope that resistance fails and then we make it up to the next one, which is right here. Guys, just look left. It happens to stop there. It didn't stop ultimately, but it hit that just like it did here. Rejected back. Couldn't move lower. We're coming off higher lows. What does that typically mean for resistance? It's more likely to fail instead of not. So if you were interested in buying calls, I wouldn't have done it here. I would have done it when we came back and put a higher low in, because the odds are that we push to it again and through it. Just like the reason we took puts over here. We were coming off of a lower high. We're expecting support to fail. Down we go. Okay, you can watch this happen all over the place. Lower high, break support. Lower high, break support. Lower high, break support. Okay, higher low, breaks resistance. Guys, this happens all the time. You just got to get used to seeing it. Pay attention to it. Okay, but back to the red box. So we're in the red box. We're in the red box. We keep hitting this first target that was all the way back here. Now we got through it once on a report, and then it hit this stone wall. But every time after that, it became a line where even if we got into the box, I'd tell people, if you're in calls, I would take my profits when we hit 453.06. It's proven to be a good idea to do so, right? But Jimmy, you sure you wouldn't play calls? Not until we get not until we break out of the red box on the Qs. Period. End of story. Okay? Want you guys to see something here. First of all, we found another quick 30-cent put play to play here. Puts Qs were at resistance. We were moving down into downtrend. You know, it was a quick move, but we knew where it was going to stop because that's where Qs were going to hit support. And again, this late in the day, we're trying to find quick trades and trying to find trades for people that may not have caught some of these earlier. Okay. But then I was explaining the wedge and what typically happens out of the wedge. These wedge plays usually break high. Your buyers are getting stronger, and we know that because the higher lows are telling us that. If the sellers were as strong as they were here, then the next time the sellers kick in, they should be able to push us right back down to the same support that it came from before. When that can't happen, either the sellers are getting weaker or the buyers are getting stronger. This is not a time to play puts from resistance. You don't want to play puts until you at least break this trend line. Otherwise, be looking for a reason to get into calls. Statistically speaking, this move breaks out to the upside. We were talking about this all the way back here. Now, the interesting part is, you just said, Jimmy, you wouldn't play calls until we broke out of the box on the Qs. And you're right. There's many opportunities to get into this trade early under normal circumstances, specifically if the Qs have room or already broke through resistance to get into this trade sooner than we did. But on this candle at 212, what happened on the Qs? We broke through the strong resistance of the day. That right there was, we said this before it happened, guys, if Qs could get through 453.06, I'd be looking for it to make it to 453.36. The same thing we were talking about early in the morning. So if you wanted to be quick or aggressive, you had that opportunity. The stop loss becomes a candle close back below 453.06 on the Qs. So if you got in, you could have played that 30-cent move, took your money, gotten out, and been happy. You would have been unhappy shortly thereafter, but you don't know, right? We have nothing on the chart today that tells us that it's going to close above this, and if it does, where it's going to go from there, other than the next line above it, which wasn't too far away. However, while this happened, trying to talk people who are in the trade to stay in the trade. Guys, ADD is grinding back up. Qs are wedging up. SPY is wedging up. This thing has the opportunity to move. If you want to wait for a breach of 453.49, I fully expect us to get to 454.21 if that happens. We had a bunch of people get in here. We had more people get in here. Awesome. I said way before this, if we get above that box, the move to the upside is likely to be pretty aggressive and decent size. Minimum we were looking for was the first target. Once we got above that, I told them, guys, I'm pretty sure we're going to hit yesterday's high of day, 455.58. Okay? And every one of these lines along the way became, when you close above it, it becomes your new stop loss. Take profits at any one you see fit. That's up to you. Just don't let it take too much of your profit. That's it. Okay? As we close above these lines, I expect it to run to the next line. You just need to know where you're going to stop out. When you want to take profits, that's your job, not mine. I told you all the way down here, once we cross this line, I think we're going to go to the pink line. We didn't hit it exactly, but we were 2 cents, 1 cent off of it. And over here, all of these circles was Qs hitting lines of resistance. I like to tell our people while they're in these trades, I was not in this trade. Hey guys, I'm going to keep you aware. We're hitting a line of resistance on the Qs. Move your stops up. Let's see if we can push through it. If not, you stop out in profit. And we kept doing that, right? By the time you're up here, you may be so comfortable and up so much in profit that you can handle a pullback like this, aiming for what we were all hoping for was Qs to make it to the pink line. I would say you had 1, 2, 3 good opportunities to take profit at this point. I told everybody long before it, I wouldn't hold through that pink line if I was in calls here. Just a heads up. And just like clockwork, the pink line is the stink line. We touched it, came close enough to it, and boom, right back down into our block of sellers that we had been worried about all damn day. Okay, I wasn't here for this because I'd already left for the day at 2:45. Okay, so I left them with clear instruction or suggestion saying, hey, if you're holding still, we get even closer to that pink line, just be careful. Move your stops up so you can capture it, not get stuck in it. These are when Qs were hitting that pink line. Take your profits, guys. You're close enough to the pink line on SPY. Greed kicks in big time when you're hoping for more. I get it, but it's very easy to get caught up in something like this. This would have been debilitating if you were in calls up here and you held all the way down here. You never saw green again. Not even remotely close. Even if you got in here, by the time it pulled back here, you were so red, there's no getting out of it. Okay. So today, the morning, we found 2 decent trades to take. We found a reason to stay out of calls. Okay. Even though, yes, I admit there were several times you could have made moves to the upside and played calls, but nothing felt right. Even these puts felt semi-wrong, but we had the shield that was this area of sellers in the queues that were protecting people. Even my hold and hopers that were in puts were a lot more comfortable holding their puts while they were in here still because of what was happening every time we happened to get in that range, okay? This was the day today. And then for the patient folks, if you just waited for what we were hoping was going to happen eventually, if we were looking for calls to happen, man, that paid bigly. Bigly. That was a massive trade to the upside, no matter when you got out. Beautiful, clean move to the upside. And then a cascading waterfall back to the downside because, hey, we touched the pink line is the stink line. But that's pretty much it, guys. So I'm sorry for the late video. I hope it was useful. I hope some of these tips and tricks that we use all day long are being retained in your brain, because I'm telling you, if you start to pay attention to them or start to remember them, you don't have to trade them. I would prefer you watch, see how often they actually happen so that you gain the confidence to use them yourself. It's not my job. I'm trying to show you what I have found to work well. But I'd rather you check and make sure that you're comfortable playing it because you have witnessed it often enough with your own eyes, in your own conditions, how often these things work, okay? And that's pretty much it. So if you found any useful information in this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, there's a link down below. We'd love to have you. Spend your week there. It's completely free. If you like what you get for that week, consider becoming a paying member. You know, you actually get some additional perks for doing so. We are doing our quarterly discount on our annual membership. I'm actually going to start it mid-month this month. So next Friday, I'll be putting out the code. And the reason I'm doing that is because we had a lot of monthly members sign up in the middle of the month. And I'm trying to bridge the gap for them to not have access between the middle of June and the end of June when they jump over to the annual membership. Totally up to you. You don't have to become a member at all. Utilize the free time. See if it's a community that fits the way you want to trade or the information you want to learn. If it's not, thank you for stopping by. I do hope that you learned something during your time with us, whether you're a paying member or not. Okay, so tomorrow for the community members, I'm going to be late. My youngest twins are graduating tomorrow, so I'm going to be there in the morning. I will be on the microphone. It'll just be shortly after open. From what I understand, it starts at 8:45. It's supposed to be over by 9:30. So I expect to be here, hopefully by 10 o'clock, 30 minutes after open. So I will draw all the lines. I'll put all the charts out there before I leave for that event so that you guys aren't flying blind. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you had a fantastic day. I hope you didn't get chopped up in this madness. And until tomorrow, I love you guys. See you.